What up, y'all? We here. Welcome to Hotep Ish. Intelligent Ish Talk. Intelligent Shit Talk. We have a lot of Ish Talk and Shit Talk for you today. I'm going to let y'all join up in the chat room. Get in the chat room, and then we going to get it in. Get in the chat room, and we are going to get it in. Live here, where we talk the most shit. Let me go ahead and share this. I'm going to go ahead and share this right now. Start a watch party on your page. Share it, like it. What's up, B-Head Phillips? How you doing today, my brother? Us Bald Head. What up, dog? I just saw this comedian. Yeah. Bald Head. Yeah. He did the show a few months ago with Sydney. Funny motherfucker. Funny dude. Let me I just use the word. Do y'all know where that word MF came from? What's up, brother Jermaine? Y'all know where that term motherfucker came from, right? Like, black people, we kind of say things just out of rhythm. I know I do. Not really even thinking about where it come from or what it really mean. You know? And MF, that one right there was what they did on them farms down in New Orleans and Baltimore, where they had the children smashing the mama on them buck breaking farms with the paper bag over his head. What up, Mark Prince? And that's where the term motherfucker comes from. It's part of the evil shit about this country and how this country be getting down. So I always remember that. A lot of things that we do in this country and say in this country come from an evil root. So when black people are talking about our issues with this country, we can go back just and listen to how this country talks and prove to you what this country thinks about us just in the way this country talks. The damn ice cream truck song is about catching a nigga. What about the other one? Any, mini, money, mo, catch a nigga by his toe. Like, when we played games, they were talking about how to lynch a black person. You know, so Pat in the chat room says sometimes a motherfucker is just a motherfucker. Well, sometimes it is. The word saying that just sounds right sometimes. But we always want to know the roots of where the shit comes from. I always want to know the roots of where it comes from. Because sometimes when black people are talking about racism, it just sounds like we just running our mouth always talking. But we literally run across it everywhere we look. I don't know where cocksucker came from. Black people don't say cocksucker. That's one right there. Like, I had a white dude call me a cocksucker once, and I just laughed. But like when a white person calls another white person a cocksucker, those is fighting words. You cocksucker, or if they say cocksucker or cunt, two white people say cocksucker or cunt, they are about to fight. Now, Mark, tell me where the word God comes from. Mark Prince, do you know where the word God comes from? Add Mark Prince to your Facebook if you guys are out there. Mark Prince is a super funny comic. Always got some original shit going on, and he is unafraid to tell the truth. I'd love to have you on the show one day soon, Mark Prince. I'd love to. Well, type your answer in, but in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get into it, what's going on today. We're talking about how to recognize misleadership. And what is a misleader? Let's start off. Let's define what a misleader is. A misleader is someone that comes to you telling you that they are for you and they're going to represent you. But when it gets to time to represent you, when it matters the most, they go behind your back and do some other things. They don't necessarily represent you and don't represent you in a good way. You know, they sort of play the game and talk to you one way, but then when it comes time to get things done, they're not really about that. That's a misleader. Oprah is a misleader. You know, Oprah's somebody that's always fair and balanced, and we want to get to the bottom of this, and we want to be equal. But then when you look at who she sets her laser beams on persecuting, you know, usually black dudes, while she don't say nothing about that Father Emmanuel, that dude that was raping all them kids down in South America. Don't say nothing about that. But when it comes to us, she got all the heat. That's a misleader. Somebody that comes to you, but then when it's time to really represent you, they kind of shitting on you. But then when it come to other people who they don't even claim the lead, they got all the excuses in the world for them. That's a misleader. Okay, Mark. Okay, let's have what Mark said. God is a dramatic word that really refers to dogs. It comes from the naming of their gods, and you might know them as Moon Dog, Tooth Dog, Wet Dog, Thirst Dog, and Fry Dog. Those are days of the week. Wow. They turned the name dog around to God in the Roman Catholic era. I never knew that, but I trust it because Mark Prince said it. I'm going to go ahead. Mark Prince is one of them reading brothers too, man. When he says some stuff, you be like, okay, yeah, whatever. Then you go back and read it, be like, oh shit, he was right. So, yeah, thanks for that, Mark. I appreciate you for that tidbit. Yeah, David Banner, when it comes to misleading in the chat room, like a lot of black politicians, you know, your black politicians, here's why we call your black politicians misleaders. They are, generally you see them around the country, mayors, congressmen, and they come in on the pro-black, blackity black. That's usually what their campaign is. Elect me because I look like you. Okay. But when it comes time to champion bills and causes, you don't really see them. Like a congressman, I'm going to tell you the difference between a good congressman and a bad congressman. A good congressman is a congressman that gets federal resources allocated to their district, whether that be through grants. Usually the best ones comes through jobs. You know, it comes through federal programs that you're going to have centered in your district that can then hire people from the district to make good wages, which brings in a tax base, which brings in, when you have a higher tax base, you have a better education system. You have more accountability to your police department because you bring in the money. That's what a good congressperson does. They bring in the jobs. If your congressperson been running around, been in office for 30 years, and the district is one way when he got there, 10 years later, the district is just as poor and deprived. 10 years after that, it's still in the same condition. What do you have on your hands? Do you have a leader or do you have a misleader? We got to ask these questions about our politicians, because black people, we've gotten to the point, we're at the point now where it's become a habit to vote Democrat, one, two, to vote for the black Democrat. We got to realize that hasn't worked. I know, you know, it's going to sound uncomfortable to some people because it's what we do, just doing it. But I'm the kind of person, we got to look at what we've been doing and see, okay, we have about a 50-year record now of voting for the black guy. What's the net result? We can talk about Tom Bradley here in LA. We could talk about Andrew Young. We could talk about all over. Name the last black politician who's really rolled for their district since Alton Maddox back in the 60s, or what's his name, out of D.C. You know who I'm talking about. Y'all know who I'm talking about out of D.C., the one they tried to, Marion Barry. The one that when he died, the Washington Post said crack mayor of D.C. instead of saying Marion Barry his name. Why was Marion Barry a great leader? Marion Barry was a great leader because in his district, he gave federal contracts to black contractors. He looked out for the black businesses in his district. One thing that they've held us under for so long when it comes to white supremacy is the economic part. People don't like talking about that. When you're dealing with your contractors, your glass makers, your window makers, your masons, your people who build things, they get contracts. They get contracts from the school district. Okay, you might see a little small storefront business that look a little shabby out front that makes, wood planks, and you're thinking like, how does this place stay in business? Well, it stays in business because usually they have contracts from their local government or federal contracts. Black people economically have been frozen out of these contracts. You would think in areas where we have black mayors, black Congress representatives, black senators, that we'd have a fair amount of federal resources allocated to those black businesses. But that's not what we get. We get a black mayor in there and we say, howdy ho, we got a black mayor. Howdy ho, we got a new black senator. Howdy ho, we got a new black fill in the blank. And that black person go to giving everybody that's not black those contracts. That black person doesn't champion any legislation to bring federal resources back to their districts. Y'all know who we talking about. We're going to get more into him on Monday, but John Lewis. I see a lot of people celebrating John Lewis. And if you're on the surface level, I get it. Black man, walked in the civil rights movement, took an ass whooping in Selma. Goes around talking about that ass whooping for the last 50 years. But what has he done since he's gotten his job? He got a job. But what about his people? What about his people? What about the people in his area, in his district in Atlanta, that could use an aerospace job? You know those kind of jobs that people vote for, that they send their senators to Washington to bring back to their companies? What about, where is what's going on? Yeah, John Lewis gets into good troubles. But what good is the trouble you get in if it's not bringing resources back to your people? And this is the thing that threw me off most about John Lewis. The fact that over the last couple years, he's been using the civil rights movement for every movement but black people. Is John Lewis going around, oh, they got those babies in them detention camps, and when I got my ass whooped in Selma, hold on, why don't you use that to talk about the homeless people in your district? What about them? You can't do nothing about them babies in them cages, but you can do something about bringing resources to your district, John Lewis. Oh, gay rights and trans rights reminds me of when I got my ass whooped in Selma. What are you talking about? The people in your district is still fucked up. And you still pimping an ass whooping you took 50 years ago on the people today? I don't like that. You've been in office for too long for you to only be talking about what you did 50 years ago. Look, people in Congress, they work for us. It's not me talking. This is a basic civics class. Go look it up. A government can't work with all 300 million citizens demanding something. So to solve that problem, they created districts that they gerrymander by race, by the way. Well, anyway, they create districts. And if you live in this district, you vote on a representative to represent your voice and out to the national and state government. You pay taxes to the state, to the federal government. So you have your state senators, your state Congress, and your federal senators and federal Congress. You send them down so they can then get a piece of the resources that you paid in on sent back to you. Their job is literally to work for you. All right? If you own a McDonald's, do you worship the person that's over the fries? We all know the fries is what bring people into McDonald's. If you have the best McDonald's fry cook ever and you own the motherfucker, do you worship them or do you just say thank you, good job, and keep pushing? Nah, but we want to worship the fry guy, aka our senator, our congress people. And this is the thing about it. We don't even worship the good ones. We don't have an Alton Maddox Day. We don't have a Robert Smalls Day. We celebrate the ones who took our votes, went down, and voted on agendas that weren't necessarily in the best interest of us as black people. This is what I mean by us not recognizing when we have leaders and we have misleaders. Let's do a little bit of comparing and contrasting here. I want to talk about these two. Let me get to the right window, and then let's see here. John Lewis. Damn it! I lost that window. Fuck. All right. First off, well, I'm gonna go here first. I'm gonna go with what I have up. This is how you recognize the different. No, here we go. Today we celebrating John Lewis dying, but hardly nobody is talking about Reverend C.T. Vivian. Who was Reverend C.T. Vivian? Reverend C.T. Vivian was one of the leaders of the civil rights movement. What's that noise? Hold on. Oh, it's this damn website making noise and shit. All right. C.T. Vivian was one of the leaders of the civil rights movement. He was beaten on that bridge too in Selma. But he's the person that organized everything. He's the person that was behind the whole nonviolence movement. Do I agree with everything Reverend C.T. Vivian did? No, I don't agree with the nonviolence part, but it was what it was. It had its effect. But I also recognize what a true leader is. He's also the person that created a program that the Congress in the United States eventually adopted called Upward Bound. Upward Bound was a program that I remember seeing my sister participate in, and a lot of friends who got black children that were on that path to college, into the right programs, into the camps, and on their way. We've had a lot of doctors, a lot of great people come out of the Upward Bound program, a program created by Reverend C.T. Vivian. Why am I comparing it, contrasting the two? Because that Upward Bound program was more than anything John Lewis ever put up in Congress. And I'm not saying this even to crap on John Lewis. I'm saying this to us, to we got to know when to recognize and when and who to recognize, because it's people out there on our behalf putting in real work all the time, and we tend not to recognize them. Let's go into talking about how the United States plays us against each other. How to recognize a leader versus a misleader. One way, and get your pen and your pad out because we're gonna talk about this now. The first way to recognize if you're dealing with a leader or a misleader is how much attention does that leader get from the mainstream media? Gotta ask that question. Dr. Claude Anderson always said, if you see the news put a black person on TV more than twice in a year, watch out. The people who run this country, they subjugate us through our minds. The entertainment being the primary means to maintain our subjugation. We don't see strength represented through the mainstream. Who do they give us when they give us mainstream access? They give us Roland Martin, this nigga. They give us Eric Holder, Attorney General, people who can talk big and tough to black people, but when it comes to talking to white people, they they give us a whole bunch of neutered Negroes. They don't tell you about the real dudes who are out there doing it. They give you the neutered ones and they play one against the other. And then if one of the two that they playing against the other wake up, they throw them away. In a sense here, W.B. Du Bois versus Marcus Garvey. Back in the day, the people were Marcus Garvey. Du Bois was the scholar. He was the person that, graduated from the university and taught at the university, and he had the refinement. So the United States put a lot of energy into pushing Du Bois out to silence a Marcus Garvey. Du Bois, however, ended up waking up. And when he did, he went over to Ghana on a trip, and the United States revoked his passport. They didn't let his black ass come back when he decided to wake up. Again, this country likes to push the people on us. They're going to push people on us who are not a threat to the system. If you see them on the news all the time, if you see them always being represented, it's because they are not a threat to the status quo. What's the status quo? Black people on the bottom. Everyone else on top. Stratified by skin tone. That's what racism is. Feudalism ripped on its side, turned into color. White on top, black on the bottom, buffer classes in between. If a black person comes around waking up that base, like a Marcus Garvey did, we got to delegitimize them. What did they do to Marcus Garvey? They delegitimized him. They sucked the FBI on him before the FBI became a thing. Before the FBI became a thing, they had somebody on Marcus Garvey. So when Marcus Garvey did his Black Star Line cruise, where he's going to have black people trading back and forth with the African continent, what did they do? They sold him through his second in command, who he didn't know worked for the government, for the United States federal government, sold him a bunch of bad ships at top dollar. So when them ships sank and the whole thing fell through, the people of the time thought, damn, that Marcus Garvey, he had a good thing, but shit, he failed just like everybody else, and it put us in the hole. But look at how great Marcus Garvey still was, regardless of what their sabotage. Look who came from Marcus Garvey in his tutelage. Noble Drew Ali, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Farrakhan, Martin Luther King. Everything that we celebrate as far as civil rights started with that man Marcus Garvey. But at the time, he was being demonized because he was a threat to the system. If you notice, they still don't talk about Marcus Garvey because his words still reign true today. Marcus Garvey is still a threat to the system, and he's a true leader, and that's why you don't hear them talking about him. Du Bois became a true leader later on in life, but like I said, they left his ass over there in Africa and didn't let him come back. That's how this country get down. True leader. I thought I had it. Where'd it go? Khalid Muhammad. Khalid Muhammad, true leader. So true they had to kill his ass in 2001. He told it like it was. You didn't see him get any national exposure. They still don't like talking about Khalid Muhammad to this day and how he woke up black people nationwide with his direct speech, but had a heart of gold. Real leader, Bass Reeves. This is a real man right here, Bass Reeves. You know, it's in today's world, they don't like showing real men. All the men that they show these days are feminized. They got this Dwayne Wade thing going on where they like wearing pink toenails and wearing booty shorts and being as metro as possible. Bass Reeves. This was the Lone Ranger. The whole story of the Lone Ranger come from him. Back when that Oklahoma territory was wild in Texas, he was the only person patrolling that area. And he brought in more fugitives than any other person that worked that territory in American history. That's a real leader. They don't talk to you about him, no. But they'll tell you about some Stonewall riots and some gay people that had some shit going on 50 years ago. But they won't tell you about a man like a Bass Reeves. Real leader. Another true leader. Leave your comments in the chat room. Thank y'all for listening. This is Dewan B, hotepish.com. Go there for your t-shirts. You see the t-shirt on me right now? Go there, hotepish.com for your t-shirt. Robert Smalls. This is a leader. He's somebody we need to be celebrating. You notice here in America these days, wait, let me get in. We're gonna talk about Robert Smalls for a little bit. We're gonna talk about Robert Smalls for a little bit. You notice in America these days, the people we celebrate the most are people who entertain us. Why is that? Why is it? Y'all know how much of a Kobe fan I am. But we shouldn't know more about Kobe than we know about Robert Smalls. Or let's say take somebody alive. His descendant, James Smalls, professor. James Smalls, Malcolm X's bodyguard, was the imam over Malcolm X's mosque after he passed away. Been teaching black history, been giving it back to black people for the last 50 years, and most people don't know who he is. We worship the wrong people. We worship LeBron James. We like, dude, LeBron got caught texting a chick named Heather Hoback. Go look it up. Think I'm lying. Look it up. No, Heidi Hoback. Like, he could dunk a basketball, but he didn't want to speak out against Tamir Rice until the streets put that pressure on him. Why is Jay-Z? Why is Oprah? Why are these people leaders? What the fuck have they done? Let's think about that. They giving money to some charities. But so is Donald Trump. Remember Donald Trump? And so is Donald Sterling, owner of the Clippers. Matter of fact, the year he got calling Magic Johnson with those AIDS and calling black people niggas, he was awarded by the NAACP for donations. Are we that cheap, black people? We so cheap? We gonna let a few donations buy us off? And we gonna celebrate these entertainers more than we celebrate the real ones? Like a Robert Smalls? Let me tell you something about Robert Smalls. Robert Smalls was in slavery. Got out of slavery. During the Civil War, this dude jacked a Confederate ship. Sailed that ship to the north to the Union. Came back on that same ship as the commander. Since he was a Negro, he didn't get credit for being a commander because he was black. But he was the first black person to command a naval ship. Took it back down through the Charleston Harbor around all kinds of Confederate checkpoints. he jacked his family out of slavery. Broke his wife and his kids and all them out of slavery, put them on that ship, hit it, went back through the Charleston Harbor around all those Confederate ships, took his family back up north, let them be free, got back on that ship, and helped the Union win the Civil War. After the Civil War was over, Robert Smalls ran for Congress and won. That's who we got in our history. But they tell you was nothing but slaves. They tell you slavery was just a bunch of Aunt Jemimas and Uncle Bens walking around. We have some rioters to celebrate as a people. We lower the bar when we celebrate these entertainers, man. Dick Gregory. We were just talking about Dick Gregory on the last couple episodes because of what's been going on with Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon, somebody who told us he was going to fill the shoes of Dick Gregory, but still got love for Nick Cannon. But as far as filling Dick Gregory's shoes, nah, not yet. Why? Because when black people needed Dick Gregory in 1968, Dick Gregory was the highest paid entertainer on earth, in America, higher paid than Frank Sinatra. And this is back when Frank Sinatra was on top. Dick Gregory said, "My people need me. The mission's too important. Y'all can take this money. Go ahead and hire that nigga Bill Cosby. Let him tell these jokes. I got my people to save." Dick Gregory is somebody black people need to thank every day. Because if Dick Gregory made $10,000, he paid his bills and passed the rest out to the movement. He even said sometimes he didn't pay his bills to give to us. This is a hero. Dick Gregory wasn't celebrated when he was alive. Do you remember any Dick Gregory Day? Do you remember the news? Like, kind of late in his life, like, he got a few interviews on the internet that shouts out to Brother Ron for bringing him back. But mainstream TV didn't deal with Dick Gregory. Matter of fact, they tried to call him a conspiracy theorist. But I remember back in 2014, Dick Gregory saying, we might not have an election in 2020, and it definitely ain't going to be no Olympics. Do we have a 2020 Olympics? Nope. Dick Gregory was calling this out back then. But was he celebrated? No. It's on us as a people to celebrate our leaders. The mainstream ain't going to celebrate the people who are telling us the things that we need to liberate ourselves. Dr. Claude Anderson. Y'all know he one of my favorite people ever. Dr. Claude Anderson. I got a call. No, that's something else. Dr. Claude Anderson. This man is a titan. The first person to write an affirmative action plan in Florida in 1971. He's the architect of affirmative action. Problem is, they didn't take he wrote affirmative action for black people. By the time they got done chopping and screwing it up, his affirmative action became for everybody but black people, midgets, handicapped, white women, whatever. But Dr. Claude Anderson is a man that created that and started that. He's still alive. I donate to his Harvest Institute at least once every couple months. $25, $50, because he's the man that has the lawsuit, the reparations lawsuit going on now off the 1866 treaty of the Cherokee Indians. When they got their payout, when slavery ended, they kept black people in 2 years longer, and they got found guilty by the court, and they owe black people money, and they never paid black people that money. So Dr. Claude Anderson, somebody who's been on the front lines fighting in lawsuits in federal court over the last 30 years trying to get us that money. He's the person that taught us the economic principles it's going to take to get us out of our current situation. Dr. Claude Anderson is the one that taught us the laws that got us in the situation. When you read Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics, a Black History reader, Dirty Little Secrets, and all of his books. Dr. Claude Anderson gives us the keys to our liberation all the time, but do we celebrate this man? No. We spend more time trying to argue who's better, James Harden or Russell Westbrook. Both of them niggas is great. Now let's get back to building. I already talked about Khalid Muhammad. Here's another one I wanted to point out. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Look at what the media does with these two. They celebrate Martin, they ignore X. But this is how cold they are when they celebrate Martin. They don't celebrate all of Martin. They don't do that. They celebrate part of Martin. They celebrate the 1964 Martin when he was following C.T. Vivian's lead and he had all kinds of people around him that weren't the best for him when he's talking about integration and didn't understand any better. They make it seem like Martin Luther King stopped evolving after 1964. What does that show you? That shows you even when they give us somebody, we still need to investigate further. Because if we only know the Martin that they give us, we think he's some old pacifist, we shall overcome, let's just integrate and leave everything else alone kind of dude. They don't tell you that towards the end of his life, he said, I've integrated my people into a burning building. They don't tell you that later in life, Martin started to become more like Malcolm. And then they try to lie on Malcolm. They say, well, after Malcolm went to Saudi Arabia, he recognized that they had white Muslims too, and he started to forgive white people. No, the fuck he didn't. All right? Let's make that very clear. That part was some shit that was put into the movie by Spike Lee. And Dick Gregory teaches us that movie and the book, because the book was written by Alex Haley, and Dick Gregory has always taught us that Alex Haley had a mission, spying mission on Malcolm X. I'm not going to get too deep in that. Look it up. Well, anyway, in that book, there are a lot of untruths about Malcolm X. And Dick Gregory talks about it on Brother Ron's channel, how there was a conversation between Dick Gregory and Malcolm X. Dick Gregory said that conversation never happened. But in the book, they said it did. A lot of great things in that book, but it's also some misleading information too. How was Malcolm coming around to forgiving America for his sins when before he was killed by the United States? Why is it, allegedly, he had a lawsuit he was about to file to the UN for crimes against humanity to the United States? Does someone who's going to the UN to get the United States to pay for his crimes against Black America, does that sound to you like somebody who's forgiven anybody for anything? Think about it. Even when they show us, even when they acknowledge a real leader of ours, they're not going to give you the real deal. They're going to give you some half-cocked, cockamamie bullshit ass story that probably wasn't true. That's why we have to recognize ourselves the difference between leaders and misleaders. Who are the leaders today? Let's get into who are the leaders today before we head up out of here. Go to hotepish.com for your t-shirt. hotepish.com. Larry, your shirt's on the way. Thank you for Sherelle for ordering the shirt. Thank you for Tiara for ordering the shirt. Thank you, David Banner, for ordering the shirt. The shirts are very comfortable, very soft, and they're machine washable. Get yours today. Shipping is a little delayed because of the COVID virus, but you going to get your shit. Don't trip. All right. Back to what we were talking about. Who are the leaders today? There are none. The leader's you. We've had the whole leader thing. What's been the end result of the leaders? Every time we get a leader, what happens? They get what? Killed. And when they get killed, what happens? The whole movement stops. If they don't get killed, they get silenced. Like they took Farrakhan, just took him off TV, and they just say, he's anti-Semitic. They don't tell you what he said that was anti-Semitic. They just say he's anti-Semitic and never let you hear him out. So leaders get silenced, leaders get killed. People get discouraged. The leader is the code up here in your mind. That's the leadership. The leadership is the ideology. Black empowerment. What's black empowerment? Empowering yourself first, making the decisions that's going to strengthen you on a day-to-day basis. And then once you're done strengthening yourself, making decisions that's going to strengthen your group. Reaching back, reaching out. Codify your behavior, the way you make money, where you spend your money around that. That's the leader. We don't end white supremacy by fighting them and telling them, you're wrong, you're bad, you're mean. They've been that way, they always going to be that way. That's not our problem. Our problem is to get our weight up individually, collectively. And that's what Dr. Claude Anderson teaches us in his books, Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, and the Black History Reader. Gives you a how-to. Marcus Garvey gave you a how-to. All right? We got the lessons. We don't have any leaders, but we do have good people out there that give information. Tariq Nasheed, great for dropping information. Information for you to take and lead yourself. Not wait for him to do it for you. Jason Black, the Black Channel, TBA, great channel, great information. But information for you to take and lead yourself. Professor Black Truth. We have good entertainment. 5150, Corey Holcomb. Always giving good information in between the jokes. We got Farrakhan still out there giving you information. Dr. Claude Anderson. There's a film that's premiering today. I'm actually going to rent it tomorrow. It's called Happy. About economics in the Nile Valley system and how it works for today. A lot of great people information in that film. Dr. James Smalls, Dr. Kaba Kabane, Wade Nobles. We got a lot of people out there with information. But that's information for us to take and use it with our own lives. Not say, hey, I learned this bit of information and I'm better than you. Stop all that hotep haughty shit. Niggas read a few books on metaphysics, a few books on black history, learn a little bit of something, and then go around shitting on the black people and the people who don't know. Stop that weak shit. You don't study to go around and get it to act like you better than somebody else who don't know. You study that shit to learn it and pass it on to other black people, other people who are interested in the information who aren't black, and to the children. That's the only reason why we learn this information. Niggas learn some information and want to get all arrogant. They ain't got time for that BS. Stop that. That's insecurity. Loud insecurity. We see through it. Stop being insecure. Learn the information and pass it along. Don't hoard this shit like you better than somebody else. You be the leader. It ain't no leaders out there, man. The leader's in here. We got to have courage, man. You nominate yourself. Scheherazade Ali. I saw an interview last week, and I posted it on my page with Scheherazade Ali. She was interviewing with King Simon, a numerologist. And someone asked her who anointed you to write these books over the last 30 years and teach to all these people. She said, me. I anointed myself. And Scheherazade Ali, I salute you. I'm glad you did. She's a leader. She's somebody we need to listen to. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she gave us the information. The information is the leadership. Neely Fuller, Dr. Claude Anderson, like I said before, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Yosef Ben Nakinen, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. Hit me up, email me, hotepish@gmail.com if you want to know some of this stuff a little deeper, some places, people you can read. Email me at hotepish.com. hotepish@gmail.com. Hit me up on my website. Inbox me on my website. That's all I really want to say about this, man. We got a lot of leaders out there, a lot of people who really led us into the right direction. What's not a leader? What's not, like we talked about it before, what's not a leader? It's somebody you see who's only pushed out there when the Democratic Party wants them to speak. That's the thing right now. Black and Democrat have gotten conflated. Professor Amos Williams, thank you, G-Rock, in the chat room on YouTube. Dr. Amos Wilson, yes. Dr. Amos Wilson had a smooth, buttery smooth voice, too. He sounded like he sang background for the Whispers. When it come down to Black America, we need to understand. Go look up Amos Wilson lectures and get some information to feel like you at a Motown concert at the same time. Thank you for that, G-Rock, in the chat room. But people who aren't leaders are the people that, like I said, we see them. It's like Black and Democrat have gotten conflated. You notice all your hip-hop, all the hip-hop is tied in some way with the Democratic Party. All your black actors in some way represent the Democratic Party. Since when did Black and Democrat get conflated? The Democrats ain't freed us from no damn slavery. The Democrats, they put us on welfare. They put us in prison. Clinton, Joe Biden, thank you. They ain't black. They're a political party. They represent corporations just like the Republicans do. Don't neither of them parties represent us. So why is it all of our entertainment class is a de facto representative of the Democratic Party? You ever ask yourself that question? This nigga Common went from common sense, rhyming for our people, to can't we all just get along? That nigga sound like Rodney King now. What the fuck happened to Common? The Democrats. The people we see on TV always been thrown out there do not represent us. John Lewis, the other black congressman who died a few months ago, Elijah Cummings, they look like twins. That's not leadership. They wore fancy suits. They put on good performances, but they didn't give shit to their constituents. They didn't bring any money to their people. They didn't reciprocate the love that their district showed them by showing out to vote every 2 years to keep them in office. They didn't return that. And that's most black people in Congress. That's most black people, mayors across the country. Democratic mayors also have the highest crime rates. It's happening right now with Lori Lightfoot. You see how she misleading Chicago. Chicago, y'all got to get that Teen Wolf looking bitch out of here. How'd y'all elect that Sammy Davis looking booger wolf? Huh? Lori Lightfoot looks like the only black woman on earth that puts raisins in potato salad. What did y'all do, Chicago? Chicago? What the fuck is going on? What's this? You see them bags around her eyes right there? She look like former San Antonio Spurs power forward Malik Rose. Beetlejuice. That's right, David Banner in the chat room. She look like Beetlejuice. She looked like she stuck her head on one of those electrical, her hands on one of those electrical receivers, and her hair got blown out like Einstein. Chicago. These are the people that we getting Webster to represent us these days. Over in Atlanta, you got Keisha Bottoms. She's pretty. I ain't got no real jokes to say about her. Mary Bottoms is bad. But she ain't talking about shit. Black people still getting gentrified. Just a couple weeks ago, she was over there talking about some, Killer Mike and T.I. own half of West Atlanta. They don't own not one damn sky rise, not one stadium. You got niggas who own a chicken shack and a barbershop. That's not progress, Keisha Bottoms. We need you to do better. We don't have great leadership right now in America, Black America. We don't have it. That's why we got to be the leader ourselves. That's why we got to code up and lead. Because John Lewis was no leader. Leaders don't talk about forgiving cops and forgiving people for beating their ass. Is that the example you want to give your kids? Look, son, the way to be a man is to take an ass whooping. Is that what we really want to teach? Not if we want to survive. Do we want to teach black leadership that falls on a sword for LGBTQ and immigrant rights? But when it comes to the black people in their own district, they can't introduce a single bill that's going to help them get out of the depraved situation that they're in. Politics is business, people. If a politician don't give you what you need, your piece of the tax pie that you put into, get them the fuck out of here. They are employees, not our leaders. All right? This has been Hotep-ish. Cash App DeJuan Brown. Go to hotepish.com. Get your t-shirts. I'm going to have some new t-shirts on the way. A new series of t-shirts. Y'all going to love them. Check me out on Craig Facts every Tuesday and Thursday, 3:30. Check me out here randomly. Definitely every Thursday, 8 to 9. And random times throughout the week. Listen in on Monday. We're going to have Dr. Randy Short, 12 p.m., political insider. Dr. Short is someone who he knows Roger Stone personally, the person that Trump just pardoned. We're going to get in talking about that. He knows the backside of what goes on in D.C. He could tell you things that John the Lewis and the rest of these congressmen don't do in Washington. So you guys really gonna want to listen to that show Monday at noon with Dr. Randy Short. Yes, David Banner, your shirt coming this week. I think you got 2 shirts coming. Thank you for ordering them shirts, man. They real comfortable. Anyway, remember there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages. For those who are willing to pick up game, we out.